Hello, I'm Joe,
And TJ.
and we are the Schoolhouse 302, bringing the hashtag Read This series to you. This is where we talk about great books around a particular topic. And this one is totally near and dear to our heart, which is building a winning team. You know what, TJ? This is hiring season. So if you're in a school or a district, now is when you're building your winning team. And we want to dive into that. It's so important. And we liken this a lot to like the NFL draft and other sports that draft. You can make your hiring season that exciting. One way to do that is to make sure that you're not just hiring a position. We're not just hiring an English teacher. We're hiring someone who can relate best to students, who can round out edges in your school or your department in ways that meet needs beyond just the typical curriculum. So it's so exciting. It's not, TJ, just about the position. This is about reaching your goals, and every school has a story. And when you really want to attract top talent, you got to be able to tell your story. It's not about just putting something out there. Hey, we're hiring for. You want to draw people in, and branding and telling your story does just that. So, which leads to our first great book. Why don't you tell us more about it, TJ?
Sure thing, Joe. You're so right. This concept of hiring, a lot of times we just have an open vacancy and we post the job, and we're not really even ready to bring somebody on the team, nor do we know what the pool looks like. And so we had an opportunity to meet our friend Eric Sheninger. He wrote this book with Trish Rubin about brand ed. Tell your story, build relationships, and empower learning. You got to get this book. I mean, if you're really interested in empowering learning, in building relationships in your school and outside of your school, brand ed. I mean, this is something that we just don't do a good enough job with in education, is branding our school and making sure that we tell our story. So we love this book. It's a great read. And so you got to pick it up. It's our first recommendation. Brand ed, Eric
And
Sheninger.
absolutely, TJ, you're right. We don't do a good enough job about it. But what makes this so thrilling also is when you're telling your story, you're talking about kids. When you're in a school system, we're celebrating the achievements of kids. We're selling the achievements of our school. We're saying to the community, look at what we're doing. Brand ed offers a prescription how to do that. Our second book, though, is really about telling your story. And we're big fans of both of these gentlemen, Tony Sinanis and Joe Sanfelippo. The power of branding, telling your school story. And we've had the privilege of learning directly from them. We've brought them into the state of Delaware, and they've worked with a lot of our own educators. These two individuals are powerhouses, but that's what it's about, right? Schools are living, breathing organisms in the community. And at this point, and we've recognized through COVID, really the center point of many communities. So telling that story couldn't be more important. You will love this book, guaranteed. TJ, how about our Mac Daddy?
Yeah, I love that book too, Joe. And I'd also want to just say, if you go on Twitter and you look for those two guys, they're telling their story. I
No
mean,
doubt.
Sanfelippo on Twitter, you said it, he's a powerhouse, but he's telling the story of his school. He's telling the story of his leadership, and he makes sure that that's out there for people, and that attracts people to the place. And that's why we wanted to add also our book, Building a Winning Team, that we wrote with Salome Principal L. The power of a magnetic reputation and the need to recruit top talent in every single school. Listen, we talk about a lot about telling your story in this book, but we also talk about the fact that you got to get ready with the story. But then when you're recruiting, it's not passive. It's an active thing. You got to go out and get people to join your team. You have to make sure that the vision is clear and your priorities are straight. And then you got to make sure that people know that you have a job posted. It's recruiting and education isn't just about posting the job. It's an active thing, bringing people on. That's how you build a winning team. In any other organization, especially to Joe's analogy about sports, they don't sit back and wait for somebody to come along. And in this book, we talk about people who get that done. And we also give tips, tricks, and all kinds of ways that you can spice up your recruitment and your hiring practices to just make it what we call glamorized, and a lot of fun. Because you know what, when you're building a team, it ought to be fun. It ought to be exciting. It ought to be something that gets you one step further in your process towards those goals, like Joe said. Joe, do you have a tip for folks?
I absolutely do. And one comment about all the books that we featured today, there's a co-author. Even building a winning team, the power of us writing together with Principal L, we're representing different organizations, but really consistent with many communities. TJ, you're in a traditional comprehensive district. I'm in a career and technical district, and Salome is in a charter network. So those experience lend to those books. And that's the beauty with all the books today. The co-authors build up one another and the stories. But the tip, we love Amazon. We love Google Books. There's a look inside feature. So if you ever want to really dig into just like a few pages in a book, a chapter, take advantage of that look inside feature. It's awesome. You can search in their little query for keywords and so forth, but it gives you enough information about a book. Like you're able to read enough about it to say, you know what, this is something I need on my bookshelf and make a part of my library.
There you have it. 3 more books to read. You can read 3 books in a month. And if you don't read 3 books in a month, pick one, right? You got to start somewhere. Reading, leaders are readers. So pick it up and make sure that you contact us at the Schoolhouse 302. And again, the schoolhouse302.com, #read this series. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we appreciate you. This #read this series from the Schoolhouse 302 is sponsored by Principals Seminar. What you get from this is 3 years of content in 3 weeks. You got to check it out. Week 1 is about leading learning. Week 2 is about school culture. And week 3 is about school-wide habits. Every single principal and assistant principal should go through these 3-week courses. You can do it on your own pace. It's asynchronous, and you are going to get a lot from it. Go to the register for courses at principalsseminar.com. Register today. If you're a new principal or a new assistant principal, you need this content. It's going to prepare you to make sure that you don't stumble and fall in your first few weeks on the job. We'd love to hear from you at the schoolhouse302.com. And again, we are sponsored by the Principals Seminar for our #read this series. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we hope that you will check out these courses at theprincipalseminar.com.